evening, everyone. Welcome to the TIP conference. This is our second session. My name is Maribeth Chima. It is amazing to be on your screen. Are you feeling the heat already? Oh my goodness. The session with Mr. Isaac Onoja was mind-blowing. But hey, just calm down because the next session is also going to blow your mind. Sit down and relax, okay? And get your notepad and all that you need ready, okay? Because the next speaker that is coming on screen is a renowned speaker, a world-class, I say, world-class civility coach. So relax and get ready because the show is about to go down. All right, so I was listening to the coach raving and raving about Mr. Isaac Onoja being the coach of the coach. So I am here, and the coach Wendy is also my coach of the coach. So you see what TIP is about. TIP is about nurturing parents and turning them into intentional parents and not leaving them there. Then they move on and they become conscious parents, right, who are ready to wear the humility gown and go all out to parent 120%. And we don't leave it at that at TIP. I can say that yes, because TIP also promotes and supports coaches and then builds coaches that can take on this game and continue to spread the word around. So yes, get ready, okay, as we get on this ride, because it's going to be an amazing one. So very soon we're going to take another review from another parent of the intentional of the inner circle. Woo! If you are not a part of the inner circle, what are you doing? Please get yourself on that list already. I am a proud member and a proud yada. And if I am to tell you, man, what you have here is very little. What you have in the academy is little. In the inner circle, it is where the real deal is going on. So yes, you want to make sure that you are a part of the inner circle in 2022. So get ready. It's going to be amazing. All right, so while
my name is Ikalo, a member of the inner circle of TIP, that is the Intentional Parenting Academy. You are welcome. So I have been a member of this inner circle since January 2021, and it has been an amazing time here. I've been learning a lot from various resources that Wendy has shared with us. The books have been fantastic, and the people, the most exciting part about being a member of this inner circle is the people on the group, people like myself who are on this journey to be better mothers. Fathers are here, and we're just asking the right questions and getting responses. Fantastic. Hope to see you 2022.
All right, she didn't tell you a lie. We are getting better as parents in the inner circle, and you do not want to. Don't let it pass you. 2022, you need to get on board in the inner circle. I guarantee you, you will definitely become a better parent. You heard Etima, I heard Auntie Etima in the first time. I mean, she said it brings parenting so close, such that your husband, your spouse, can actually be a part of all of it. That's what the inner circle does to you. It gives you these tips and it trains you in a way that is subtle, such that everybody can come on board. All right, so we're going to introduce. Okay, I'll be bringing.
Dr. Rebecca Harper is a communications professional with almost 20 years experience in the development of strategic national communications plans related to empowering families to achieve the sustainable development goals through agriculture, environment, poverty alleviation, youth, at-risk youth, special education, and community development. She has received the Global Family First Movement Award, making her an award-winning author
Good afternoon. I don't know what time is it for you in Canada. It's evening here in Nigeria. So good
It's
day,
midday
man.
here. Good
Okay,
evening.
so
Good
it's
evening.
okay to say good afternoon.
Yes.
All right. It's so great to have you, ma'am, and we don't take it for granted that you are doing this. So thank you very much. And I'm just
My
going
pleasure.
to allow you have the floor.
Well, thank you. And now that you know my background is in agriculture, you'll hear a lot of analogies and relations to animals and agriculture and growing because it is my passion. Now, what is family civility? Before we bring civility into the family, let me explain what family civility is and how it came about, because it's a lot to do with how the family dynamics are. So family civility in a nation, we as a family, we as parents always get the blame. I'm sure you're hearing all the time, oh, the parents aren't doing enough. And the reason we have all these social problems in the country is because the parents aren't doing what they need to do, and the parents aren't involved, and the fathers aren't around, and the mothers and their single mothers' homes. And there's constant blame on us. However, it's a system. I'm going to tell you straight up, it's a system. We accept diversity in class. We accept diversity in economics. We accept diversity in race and religion, but we never accept diversity in families. The family system has changed. We're constantly being told we have to have mother, father, children, which is the nuclear family. And the problem is the systems only cater to that family. Even when you look at minimum wage, it's for a double income home, not a single income home. So when we become single parents, we struggle. So what is family civility? Family civility is when the country, when the nation, when communities, when governments show equity and civility to all family types, no matter their race, religion, sexuality, different abilities, biological connection, and formation. Imagine growing up as a child, a foster child or adopted child, or a child living with a grandma, or a child living in a single mother home, and not being felt that they are less than or they're suffering from because they come from a different type of home. What an amazing, confident child we would create. Imagine you, if you come from that type of home. How would you feel if you were told, hey, it is your family. Celebrate your family. Celebrate the fact that you're adopted and people chose to love you. Celebrate the fact that you're being fostered by your grandmother because they chose to love you. Celebrate the fact that your mother loves you and takes care of you and does what she can. So many young men I hear that from all over the world. I saw my mother work hard. I saw my mother suffer. But she suffered not because she was not because she was abandoned or because the father abandoned her, but because the system does not help her or give her that equity and civility as a single mother. What we preach and promote at the Family Civility Institute is not one family should be left behind, and we should accept family diversity. Now, how does this relate to us parents? So I know I've kind of put the finger towards the nation and the government, but I wanted to put it in a micro entity. I wanted you to say, hey, I am doing the best I can. And as you know, I had parenting shows for 8 years in Jamaica, and I heard it all. I heard the damaged children become damaged parents. I heard, the abuse that was going on, and my heart bled. I too am a single mother. I have 3 children, all with special needs. I have children with dyslexia, autism, ADHD, audio processing, all of that. In fact, the reason I had to move to Canada was because I had to find the system that would help me with my special needs, my different abilities family, right? That is the whole thing, because I had to do all the research myself back home. And that's what led me to the show, because all my research, I was like, other parents could benefit from what I'm learning. And that's how I ended up with the radio show. I started promoting what I was learning and how I was helping my kids. So how can we practice family civility in our own family? Well, sit down, don't have a heart attack, but I push away and reject birth order and cultural bias. I believe that by loving, supporting, accepting, and showing civility to all members of the family, by accepting their strengths and identity and making it above birth order and cultural bias. And then I tweak my saying, not one family member is to be left behind. And that can be hard, because how do we do that? You know, one of the things I say on my show all the time is raise the child I have, not the one I want, which I learned. And, you know, my kids, God bless them, because they're used to me telling all the stories of parenting. But this is how we do it. We can achieve family civility by communicating with our family and not just speaking. It is knowing when you say something, how it's being heard. And I can tell you, every child is different. They all come out of the same place, my 3 children, but they're completely different people. So how I speak to one, I can say, don't leave the lights on to one child, and the other child I can say the same thing, and the other child I can say the same thing, but the 3 of them will interpret it in different ways, because interpersonal communication is 7% words, 38% voice and tone, and the rest, 50-odd%, I can't do my math right now, but it is body language. So I could say, I love you, with a lovely tone, and my face is forward, and I hold my heart when I say I love you. Or I could say, I love you. And how does that person interpret it? Did you see me lean back, not really care, my facial expression? You heard some as saying the same words, but in 2 completely different ways. So how do we achieve a civility? Number 1, get to know who your children are. Not the children you want, but who they actually are. And in my book, Communication is a Family Game, How to Reduce Stress and Fighting and Create Harmony at Home, I speak a lot about things that I did with my kids to create that. And it is a family game. In fact, I made games for the family to play in order to get to know each other. So what are these ways of, as I say, interpersonal parenting? Well, we have to learn how to communicate and learn who our children are. Are they, for example, musically inclined? Are they math inclined? Are they very verbal? You know, it's so funny because when I read about the birth order, our birth order does dictate who we are, but that's because of how our family treats us. So if, for example, I'm the 3rd child of my family, and I'm very much the type of person, I'm a pleaser because I was constantly trying to get attention or to just be seen as a 3rd child. And of course, I'm 8 and 7 years younger than my brother and sister. So it was like, hey, I'm here. And then by the time my parents had me, they were kind of tired of parenting. Not that they didn't love me. I know they loved me. My father's passed away. My mother's still alive. But I had to be that person of constant pleasing. Now, yes, I'm a talker, and I have a lot of personal attributes because of it. But I would love to have identified who I was. And then what happened to me was I started 2 things, and it's called the mirroring image. I was a self-imager with my family, and I then became my authentic self with my friends, which really that should be it should be the other way around. And these are a lot of technical terms that I am speaking, which I teach more in the book, and I teach more when I do my workshops, because what we want to aim for our children to be are their authentic selves. How can you achieve that? That at home, you ensure that they can be the authentic self. Another way of showing civility when you speak with your children is when they do something bad, it's the action that's bad, not the person. I'm going to repeat that. The action is bad, not the child. So for example, they touched a vase and it dropped on the ground, and you say, why are you such a bad child? You don't ever listen. Or because you did not listen, you now broke mommy's favorite vase. Now, do you see where the 2 ways I communicated that? One was their action was bad. They are not a bad child. So number one of civility is how we speak to our children. We show them that civility, that we say, you are a good child, but your actions sometimes can be bad, and I'm here to help you correct those actions. And then that way they can be their authentic self. Another game that I love to play to do the authentic self, and this can be done at any age, which is so special. Even a 3-year-old, you can say to a 3-year-old, draw who you are. And sometimes they might draw themselves as a fireman or a police officer or a teacher. They might draw themselves as a public speaker, or they might say, I'm going to be a mommy, or a daddy or whatever. And you have them stand up in front of the entire family and you give them that spotlight. I call it their time to shine game. And they are able to talk about who they are. Imagine that. Did you ever get that opportunity to say to your parents, hey, this is who I am? And nobody's to judge, nobody's to say otherwise. This is who they are. And that getting to know your children is the first step to accepting, loving, and supporting and being civil. But how can we get to know our children if we don't even know ourselves? Because we didn't grow up this way. We're going to have to break some serious cycles of parenting. Serious cycles. And it's not our parents' fault. They are dealing, and we are dealing with generational trauma. We're dealing with racial trauma. We're dealing with so many things, colonialism, so many external sources, because again, going back to family civility as a nation, we have systemic barriers of us as families. So we're dealing with these traumas, and we have to learn how to self-regulate our traumas in order not to pass them on to our children. See where we're going here? So let's continue. So we have that game where we get to know what each other is doing and ourself. And then there's another game that I usually like to talk about called self-concept. And this can be done with the older kids, ages 6, 8. It's called, you put a grid or piece of paper and you head it up. Others' image of me, comparison to others, self-evaluation, and cultural teachings. And your older kids could fill this out, right? In their mind, and I would love parents to do this as well. When I did it, it was really amazing because I actually called my friends and my family and said, hey, what is your image of me? But when you're doing it like that, you're kind of detaching yourself. What do you think of me? I'm not going to allow it to make me or be me, but what do you think of me? And then I wrote that down. In the game, when we play it as a family with other kids, I tend to leave that box blank and then I pass around my paper. And then that's after I have already written my comparison to others, how I self-evaluate who I am and what cultural teachings affect me. Right? And then when I do that, I then pass it around to the other family members to say, okay, what's your image of me? But I block out those other 4 because I don't want to influence their opinion, and I don't want their opinion influencing me. Then when we put it all together and read it, you're like, whoa, this is who I am. This is my self-concept of who I am. I spoke about nonverbal and verbal messaging. One of the things of civility is, again, how we speak. Remember, 7% words, 38% is our tone, and the rest is body language. Now, I'm a very non-assertive, I used to be, I should say, because I grew up in a home. I grew up, my children saw me as a very passive person. And of course, I'm a passive person. I was a 3rd child. I never had much to say. I was always told I'm too young to know anything. And again, you're hearing that cultural bias. You're hearing that birth order being told to me, this is who you are, right? Not realizing I actually end up growing up and being a big woman and a mother of 3. We won't go there. But what I'm trying to say is I became a very passive person. And then I married a very aggressive person. So what would happen to me is I'd be passive, 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 and then I'd get so angry, I would jump to aggressive. And so passive people always end up being aggressive and then go back to passive. And it's like a seesaw for the kids and seesaw for your relationships, because there's no middle ground. There's no consistency. You're either passive, 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 and then all of a sudden you just get off the seesaw and you're aggressive, right? So what happens is we have to be more assertive. Say things that upset you when they upset you. And when you do that, make sure that you take ownership over your feelings. So you say, again, blame the action, not the person. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm really upset when you shout at me. It really hurts my feelings. People who used to shout at me all the time, and I get very tense and I get very nervous, and then I shut down and I don't speak when you shout at me. Can you please, when we're having a discussion, even though you might be angry, not to shout at me? See where we're going there? I'm owning the feelings. I'm owning my reaction to the feelings. Therefore, what is happening to me is that I'm not blaming the person. I'm just saying that action makes me feel this way. And I'm also being assertive. And I've learned that being assertive really helps the relationship, even if you're in a very abusive, verbally abusive, or because what happens is you're kind of diffusing and de-escalating that abuse before, and they can't blame you because they're like, oh, well, you didn't blame them back. You didn't get aggressive. You weren't passive, then aggressive. So it is a whole combination. And we as parents have to know who we are, and we have to heal all our damage so that we don't pass on that generational trauma. And going into trauma-informed practice, that's a whole different workshop. So that is and then the last thing I wanted to touch on, because I really do love interaction and questions, so hopefully you have lots of questions for me. I call it the positive approach to parenting. And I use positive as an acronym. So I use positive for positive, openness, supportive, interest, truthfulness, involvement, value, and my favorite word, equity, not equality, equity. So positiveness, I'm going to let you know straight up, my little son, my youngest son, well, he's not little anymore, he's 14. He calls me the hippie mom because I'm always very positive. No matter what, I'm so positive. And I try to be as positive as possible. And I'm also very open. I talk about all the tough topics with my kids at any age. I am very open at age level, of course, with my kids. And if they ask me a question, I don't hide it. I talk about sex with my kids. I talk about all the aspects of sexuality with my kids. So they come to me whenever they have a question, before they have a question. And I'm really happy because they then know, hey, I can go to my parents with anything. I always say, when you shout and scream and punish a child for spilling milk, then they're not going to come to you with the bigger things. Because if they said, oh my gosh, look at the beating and the punishment I got spilling milk, imagine if I do something really bad, there's no way I'm going to go to my parents. So being open is very important. Being supportive as well, and not supportive the way you want to be supportive. So yes, my eldest child, boy, he was a beautiful athlete. Let me tell you, I was ready to go to the Olympics, wave my Jamaican flag high and say yes. And he just didn't like to compete. And what I did, and he chose to be a mechanic, and he chose other things. So I had to support him in what he did. In fact, he went to university, like everybody's suggested to do. He came to me and said, Mom, I can't handle university. He has dyslexia, audio processing, so he had special needs. But I love mechanics. I want to give it up and go and be an apprentice mechanic and study to be a mechanic. And I was very supportive of that. And I said, yes, if this is who you want to be and you've done the research, I support you. Also, interest in their interests. So my son, my 14-year-old, he loves table tennis and he loves chess. So I was there not only to support him, but I became interested in it. My daughter, she actually has autism, so she can get obsessive over things, which is now anime and the Japanese culture. I'm learning about the Japanese culture and I show interest as much as I can. I'm not I'm not the perfect parent in any way. Also, I'm very truthful. In fact, the only thing that my children actually got a beating for in my house, and that's before we came to Canada, was lying. And they only had to get a beating once, and that was a slap. That was it. Lying is the only thing not permitted in my house. If you make a mistake, please come and tell us. And truthfulness is number one in my house. And I became very involved in their lives. I'll give you an example. My daughter wanted to do brownies and Girl Guides. There was no brownie unit. I went and became brownie pack leader, and I started the troop in her. I became very involved in their lives as much as we can. Please remember, yes, I am a single parent. I work full time. I was able to do it on Saturdays. I also need to take time for myself, because you cannot feed your children from an empty cup. If it just doesn't happen. So you have to fill your cup up too. So I'm not saying I'm the super mom and I'm superhuman and I have all this energy. No, I just knew when to get involved, and they remember those moments. And I value my kids. I value their opinion, and I value who they are. And then the biggest thing is equity. All my 3 children are completely different. So I cannot equally give them the same thing. Yes, they can equally have the same plate of food. But guess what? My daughter may not eat as much as my big son and my little son, because teenage boys, they eat everything. I'm going into my patois. Way more than other children. So yes, you have to, even dishing out plates of food, there is equity. And if they ask, why did they get more? You say, okay, do you want some more? Because usually your brother eats more than you do. But if you want some more, you can have more, right? And admit mistakes. I make mistakes all the time as a parent, and I say sorry, and we talk about it, and I correct myself. So I just hope that you can remember, by practicing civility in the home is loving, supporting, and accepting each member's strengths that they bring to the family and their identity, and making it over birth order and cultural bias. Not one family must be left behind. Thank you. Any questions?
Wow. Thank you so much, Doctor. It's so amazing how you went on and on about not being a perfect parent. Because, sometimes as parents, yes, we try to project ourselves as being perfect, and we don't know what that does to the children. Thank you so much. And I just kept on hearing over and over, every child is different, and we have to treat them. No one should be left. Every child is different, and we must meet them at the point where they are. Equity. Thank you so much, ma'am. All right, all right, everyone. So this is the time where you begin to put down your questions, okay? So put down your questions, and please remember to take screenshots and begin to share. As Coach Wendy said, no one is here for free. Someone has paid for these people to be here. And the only way we can pay them back is to rave about them. Go to your social media handle and please rave about these amazing people. So in the meantime, please go ahead and put down your questions so that we will come back after another review from the inner circle. We will come back and we will take questions, or we'll come back and bring our questions before Doctor so that she can answer them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. There's so many comments.
Hello. My name is Ikalo, a member of the inner circle of TIP. That is the Intentional Parenting Academy. You are welcome. So I have been a member of this inner circle since January 2021, and it has been an amazing time here. I've been learning a lot from various resources that Wendy has shared with us. The books have been fantastic, and the people, the most exciting part about being a member of this inner circle is the people on the group, people like myself who are on this journey to be better mothers. Fathers are here, and we're just asking the right questions and getting responses Fantastic. Hope to see you 2022.
All right, so I'm scrolling through to get the questions. I'm struggling through. And then there's something you said about you have three children, and then each of them has special needs. You know, something that hit me when you said that was how can you have all that and still say you are this person that is always happy and your energy is how do you manage that? Because some of us just have one child or two, I mean one most times, and we're like overwhelmed and losing our minds. How do you manage that?
One of the things is I say that God has given me these children for a reason. For example, my daughter has not only made me a better parent, but has made me a better person. And having her has, I was the most unorganized, not disorganized, but just I was always in the moment, impromptu, because I have ADHD. So so I can do multiple things at the same time. And then I have this daughter who needs routine. Like we'll have a meltdown without one. And so God gives you what you need to improve in life. And that's how I think of it. I think God never punishes you. He gives you what you need to become the person you need to be in life. So that's number one that helps my positivity, is knowing that God loves me. He's not punishing me, but I need to learn something from everything. So that's number one. And then having a son with ADHD. So I have one child that remembers everything that they do, that is done to them. And I have another child that forgets everything. So imagine the arguments in my home.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? What's so fun about it is I had to learn not to get involved, because what you don't want is that triangle of dispute in the home. Because what would happen is my son would come to me, and then my daughter would come to me, and then I would go here, and then I would go here. But what I learned was, and I'm telling you one of the mistakes I made and learned from, she would think that I was defending him because I was trying to be the communicator in the family. And then when I went to him about her, he would think I was defending her. So I ended up being the bad guy.
Aren't we always?
I said, no more triangle. I said,
that was wisdom.
And I just had to breathe. And so when I heard them argue, I'm like, okay, you just have to learn to talk about it, not argue. And then what I would do is then say, okay, are you understanding? And be a mediator, not a translator. And I had to become that mediator. Thank goodness I took those courses. But but that's how I do
amazing.
it. Yeah, that's how I do it.
That's amazing. I mean, it applies in every family, really. We should allow our children, look at their conflicts and try to resolve it themselves.
Exactly.
All right, so we have one question here. Right, sorry for cutting you. You were going to say one more thing?
No, I was saying, and also my children are my mirrors. We have to look at a lot of things that they do. They have copied from us. So sometimes we get angry at them, but we're actually angry at ourselves for having that trait. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's go to the next one.
All right. So there's a question on the screen. It says, I noticed my 1 year, 2-month-old baby deliberately does something she has been told repeatedly not to do. She does it and stares at me like wanting to see my reaction. So I used to scold or tap her hands, but now I don't anymore. So is there any special thing or way to handle such children?
So, mommy, good behavior, negative response and positive response, or negative attention and positive attention is still attention to the child.
Wow.
So what I did what happens is she gets a reaction from you. So when she does it, she's looking for you for your attention and your reaction, saying, okay, when I do this, I know mommy's going to pay attention to me. It doesn't matter if it's bad or good. It's attention. They don't know the difference. So what you need to do is ignore her when she does it bad, but when she does not do it, give her that attention. Positive reinforcement is far more effective in the longer term than negative reinforcement. One of the things that I used with my daughter, and it's behavioral modification. I mean, I got it from doctors when she was 3 years old and having temper tantrums. I had a thing called a star chart, and I called it the star because we had colored stars. And all it was a paper calendar. I'm going to show you, like, it's a paper calendar printed off. And every day they did not do that behavior. So for my daughter, it was crying, having a 1 hour meltdown because of the autism. For my baby, it was using the potty because I was potty training him. Okay. And then for my big son, because he was 7, was doing his homework without me having to tell him. And every day they did those actions. So he did his homework without me having to tell. My daughter didn't have a meltdown, and my son used the potty. I would put a star for each of them at the end of the day. So before bedtime, it was exactly that. It was like, okay, did everybody, and I wrote it on the calendar what they had to do. So it was a pre-arranged contract for the month, right? Yeah. And then at the end of the week, and I did it on different levels of finances. So at the end of the week, because children have short-term memories, especially, and they're quick response because they're 3 and 4 and 7. So at the end of the week, I had a little bag of like erasers, or I had a little sweetie, or I had a little pencil, something of their favorite color, or I then changed it to that attention. So if they were able to do it for the 1 week, they got 1 hour of my time to do what they wanted me to do with them on a Saturday. And they loved it. They actually threw away the stuff. It wasn't about the material stuff. They wanted that 1 hour where they could see what I had to do. And that's another thing that we do. And so you make sure every day you spend 1 hour with your toddler doing something they dictate, and they can. It could be sitting on their placemat and they pick up a toy and you play with that toy with them. Our children, as I always said, our children don't want presents, they want our presence. So I hope that helps.
No, of course it does. Something, you just said something that is really profound. I used to be a classroom teacher, and we had that chat. But what used to happen was when the kids do something right, that's when we put up the stars. So there's a flip here. You actually are using it to correct a negative behavior. So it's more like when you, in a positive way. So it's more like when you're able to, overcome this negative behavior, then you get the stars. So that's where they are more focused on getting better rather than just doing to be rewarded. Amazing.
Yeah. And then
amazing.
Exactly. And it's that positive reinforcement that really helps. And you mentioned something earlier about having one child with special needs, and it's overwhelming. And it can be overwhelming because, for example, if my daughter needed all my attention at first because she needed a lot more than my son, I made sure that an hour a day went to my son, no matter what. Right? Because he needs to feel worthy, and we can be overwhelmed. So I made sure that even though I was spending a lot of my attention on one child because they needed it at that point, I made sure that the other child got my attention and they could count on that hour. You don't mess with that hour. It could be even 30 minutes. But they can count on 3:30 to 4 o'clock. I have mommy's attention, not her.
Wow. Wow. There's that thing about the appointment, knowing at this time. So it is anticipated. It is.
And they won't bug you. Yeah. And they see what happens is the other children tend to pull on you while you're trying to deal with other things because they don't know when they can get you.
Yes.
Now my children, they know when I'm at work, and this was a young age. They never called me. They never disturbed me because they knew when I was not at work, they had my attention.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, I
Thank
love this
you.
question coming up. How do you
Yes.
accept your mistakes without letting your kids make it like a weakness or take it as a weakness on your part?
Mm-hmm.
If they that means we're doing it to them. We're making their mistakes look like a weakness. And mistakes are
Mm.
not a weakness. You can read Steve Jobs. You can read all the CEOs of the world, Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, who made the light bulb. They always are talking. Mistakes make you
Mistakes
stronger.
is
They
it.
don't make you weaker. And that's what you need to tell your kids. You say, hey, I made a mistake, but I'm learning from it.
Mm.
When my kids used to say sorry, I used to say, don't tell me sorry unless you change your behavior. Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. They're not weaknesses. It's when you learn. It's a learning experience. It makes you stronger, and it's what you tell your kids. Your kids are like a blank slate a modeling clay that you form, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
it's a very powerful thing to be a parent. And we have to acknowledge that responsibility as much as we enjoy that responsibility. We enjoy it most times.
Yes, yes. All right. Okay, I need to say this too. I need to say this to participants here. Please, if you have a friend who has a toddler, if you have a friend who has or family who has a child with special needs, you need to share this video. You need to share this link. They need to watch this. I mean, I have taken notes and notes upon notes because I still have a toddler, and I'm going to apply most of this. I am just going to, in fact,
Yeah.
all of it. Okay, we have something else on the screen. Let's see. Is here a question? It says, as much as I don't like shouting on my child, but her actions irritates most times that I just have to shout. How do I control this?
So I can only speak for myself because I do shout from time to time. And it is a huge trigger in my household because we came from an abusive household where shouting was the number one thing. And I can see
Oh.
my children shut down just like I do. And what I found, and I want you to think about it. So I'm saying this is how I feel. I'm not saying this is how you are. But are you shouting at her action, or are you tired, frustrated, exhausted,
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed, and then she does the action and you just can't self-regulate, so therefore you
Sorry.
shout?
Yeah.
So is it her action that made you shout, or her action plus how you are feeling at the time she did it made you shout? So saying that, I have shouted at my children, and I still do. There are times I can't, and I will say to them, listen, I'm sorry for shouting. I know you don't like it. However, mommy is really tired right now, right? And a lot of times when you come home, ask for that 5 minutes from your kids. Say, listen, mommy's had a very bad day. This is the openness I'm talking about. This is a truthfulness and positive pairing. You say to them, I'm tired right now. Can you just give me 10 minutes? And sometimes I even have a time. When they were younger, I had a timer. So when it went ding, I said, when that goes ding, you can come to mommy now, right? And I used a lot of that. So apologize for shouting. You are not going to stop shouting because you can't stop being, you have your own issues to deal with, right?
Yeah.
You are not perfect. Neither am I. So
Mm-hmm.
apologize when you make mistakes so they will learn, but try and change that and say, yes, mommy shouted again. I know I said sorry. However, there are times when mommy is tired and mommy cannot handle it. Therefore, and no matter what age you can start talking to your children. I mean, beware, because they'll be talking very adult to you back. As I said, the biggest mistake I made was having children smarter than me. I mean, it's exhausting outthinking my children, but it is. I'm saying it straight.
Wow, thank you so much, ma'am. If there's nothing else you take away from this session, take the fact that as a parent, you are not perfect, because
No.
I can just hear you saying it over and over again. You apologize to these children. You tell them mommy is not at her best right now. I mean, I know I can do better, but right now I'm not. Just give me a minute. Let me catch my breath. It's so amazing to know that, I mean, coming from a coach, that you actually can be vulnerable. And I think when we're vulnerable, when we're vulnerable before our children, we allow them the allowance to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
So they know that perfection is not the goal. I mean, come with your vulnerability, and such kids will always come back, isn't it? All right, we have another question here, man. It says, maybe this is going to be we still have about 12 minutes thereabouts. So let's see. This one says, how do you deal with a child who believes crying can get him everything? Little things he cries for, but you hand it to him and then beg him until you do that, he would not stop.
Okay, so you taught that child to do that straight up.
Yeah.
Right? So, and this brings me to another one of my lovely sayings. You know, when you have a teenager that is acting up, because remember, I work a lot with at-risk youth. My 14-year-old now, this is when I can tweak the mistakes I made as a parent.
Yeah.
Right? When you see your children, your teenagers acting out, it's because you made a mistake as a parent. Your child right now, he knows that if he cries, he gets what he wants, right?
Yeah.
So I highly recommend the star chart to you. Highly recommend. That is a key tool. Every time he does not cry for something he wants for the day, he gets a star, and then he gets a big reward at the end of the week, and he gets a big reward at the end of the month. That is a behavioral change. That is actually a behavioral change you need to do, because he's been taught if he cries, he gets what he wants.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I totally agree with you. All right. So there's another question. It says, how do you manage a situation when you tell someone how their actions make you feel and they refuse to stop acting that way?
So, this is where your resilience has to be built up. So I do, and I'm going to make a commitment, because I just love Wendy so much and I love you so much. I will actually I will do a presentation for you on parenting children with special needs.
Wow.
And this will also include, and I have a whole presentation, 1 hour talk just on parenting with special needs. So if you sign up to a tip and you become part of the inner circle, I will commit to doing a Zoom. This is a Zoom. This isn't a live. I don't broadcast this seminar.
Yes, that's the live. You're not in the inner circle, or here for you.
You're missing.
I will do this for you. And to go back to that original question, I have family members that I could not cope with. And I had to, and there's no changing the other person, but I had to change my reaction and my triggers to the other person, which is trauma. So how you face trauma, it's like a seesaw. Your resilience faces the trauma, and you need more resilience than trauma. So you have to build your resilience against that person. Sometimes it means taking a break from speaking to the person until you are strong enough mentally and emotionally to deal with that person. You heard what I said. Sometimes
yes, I did. Loud.
Break. Right? And I have done that. I've had to take a break from did I get it fully from other family members? But I had to take that break. And then now I did my self-work and my self-awareness and my self-resilience training. And now that family member and I speak 3 times a week. Wow. And when she says certain things that trigger me, I say, stop. That is not true. And that is a trigger. And I control myself. And I'm assertive, not passive.
No person. Right. So you're saying clearly identify your triggers and then act
Yeah.
accordingly. All right. We
Sometimes
still
I
have
look.
about 7 minutes. We still
Sometimes
have
I
about
look at
seven
my
minutes.
trigger. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Actually, let me touch on
exactly.
that. Let me touch on that
Yeah.
because that's very important, especially as single parents of fathers or mothers who have hurt you.
Mm.
Remember, your children are half that other person. So I'm going to give you an example. My son will have a facial expression or stand a certain way that his father does. And when his
Mm.
father used to do it, it triggered me because it was hurt. It hurt me when he used to stand that way. That was like my body's cue of saying, okay, it's coming. And
So,
I would get defensive and hurt and be shout at my son. And I would get defensive and not listen to what he was actually saying because what was it happening? He was communicating 58% the way he was standing. So I wasn't
yeah.
hearing his 7% words, right? I was watching his body language. So I wasn't listening. And so I had to be very much aware of that. And now my son does not suffer for the pain that his father caused me.
Course.
That is so important. And I hope that gets across today because I love my son dearly. And a lot of mothers tend to hurt their sons or abuse their sons or overpower their sons because of those triggers.
Yeah.
And their sons are being, and it damages and the sons. That's why our
Damages.
boys are more at risk than our girls.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So please, as a
Yes.
single mom, be very conscious of it. Be conscious of what is triggering you. And it's very easy to be aware of it because it could be a smell, it could be a sound, it could be something you see, and your body actually reacts to it. So your heart will start. It's like it's a flight, fight, or
Mm.
freeze response. So your body
Yes.
actually responds. So be very aware of your body when your son especially does that. So you're aware, hold on, it's not my son, it's a trigger of
It's
me.
another person.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So basically, you don't come here and project your fears and project your pains and project all the other baggages that we
Oh,
carry on our children. Yeah,
so
so
you
we'll
can get
take
my book on
2 more.
Amazon. No,
Okay,
somebody was
yes, we'll talk
asking.
about. No, we'll talk about that book. Yes, we'll talk about the book again. So let's just take our last 2 questions. We'll talk about the book and then we'll be gone. We'll let you go. All right. So someone says my baby is 10 months and she's hyperactive. How do I make her know or understand that some things are not allowed, like going to the socket, the electrical plug on the wall. Okay, that could be very dangerous. That's what she's talking about. And she's too young to understand. How do I go about making a toddler understand danger, basically?
Oh, wow. I think a lot of parents could answer this question, actually. Well, I cheated. I'm going to tell you straight. I cheated. I put socket covers on everything. But, I'm going to go back to what my mom said. My mom never put anything away for us. She just told us no. Remember tone. They'll learn a certain tone. So it's going to be hard work. Good luck. God bless you. May God be with you. Because you just have to watch that toddler, and every time she goes near the socket, you have to just say, no, hurt, ow, no, ow, no, ow, and pull her away, right? I mean, what you also have to do is make sure that's not only the attention you give her. Remember that thing. Bad attention and good attention is attention, right?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is that make sure you give her just as much attention other than those things, because she'll purposely go to the socket to get your attention. So that's how you balance it out.
Okay. We heard that. Negative, positive attention is still attention to the child. So
Yeah.
while you're saying no socket, make sure you pay attention to other things. So it's not the socket alone that he uses to get your attention. Thank you so much, ma'am. Are you listening? All right, the very last question. How do I handle this? During read aloud sessions with the children, my 5-year-old doesn't like interruption. He likes to just listen by my ask questions and call and Okay, it's a bit, I can't exactly, but I think she's saying, or this person, Esther, is saying that when one of the kids reading, the other one doesn't want to be interrupted or something like that. Or, sorry, let me just read that very well. How do I handle this? During read aloud time, my 5-year-old doesn't like interruption. He likes to just listen by my 3-year-old questions, and this causes conflict. How do I resolve it? So one person just wants to listen, the other one wants to ask questions. And so how does she balance this?
Well, you definitely know you have two different children on your hands. You could do read aloud sessions separately, but that's hard.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you. But what you can do, this is actually a really good learning moment, especially for the 5-year-old. So, and the 3-year-old, you could say to the 5-year-old, listen, she likes to ask questions, but what you could do is read the book again. And the 3-year-old, so what you can do is read the book with no questions. So you teach a 3-year-old, listen, when I read the story once, your questions will be answered afterwards. So you give your 5-year-old his way of listening. And you're going to have to remind the 3-year-old to do that. You understand? So you're going to say, keep your questions till after. Keep your questions till after. And you're going to keep having, and don't answer the questions. Just say, I will answer your questions after. Then what you can do is read the story again. And then now she's allowed to read the question, to ask as many questions during that story time. And he has to sit through it. So you're allowing them to now accept and show civility to each other, because you see, her strength is asking questions. His strength is listening. So you're teaching him, listen, this is her strength. Don't belittle it because you don't think it's a strength. You know what I mean? So it's like you have two amazing kids, because you are now allowing them to accept each other's strength. And then when they get older, they're going to use that and they're going to team up, and good luck to you.
Oh my goodness. Nobody should be left out. No one in the family should be left out. This is civility. Thank you so much, Dr. Rebecca Harper. Now, please, Dr. Harper has this amazing book. I can tell already that it's amazing. And it is on Amazon. Please, the least we can do is to go to Amazon and order this book. Not just because she's here or she made time to be here. I mean, she is coming. I mean, she's on from Canada. We can't even get her on your screen ordinarily. I mean, if we have to pay her for this session, I don't even want to say how broke we will get. So she's here for free. And as Wendy said, there is no free thing. She's here because she wants to make a difference. So the least we can do is rave about this amazing woman. The least we can do is go to Amazon and pay and then buy this book. Yes.
So it's Communication is a Family Game by Rebecca Harper.
So communication is a
family game.
Please write that on your jotter right away so that you don't forget. Communication, I'm writing it on my jotter. So communication is a family game.
Yes. So and it talks about how you can go to the supermarket, the games I played at the supermarket to allow them to not misbehave in the supermarket. All these, the star chart is in this book, all the type of things. And I'm coming out with family civility in the home workbook. So we will have all the things that I spoke about today, and it was all the games and everything. And again, I'm promising you right now, I am giving that Zoom meeting. Just set it up for me, Wendy, and to do how to parent special needs kids.
Wow. Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving so much. All right. So if you are here, then the least you can also do is go and rave about the TIP annual conference. Please go on your social media handle and take screenshots. I mean, hashtag intentional. Is that TIP Conference 2021. Please use that. Tag us, and please, that's the least you can do to say thank you. Thank you so much. You need to see my action. Thank you so
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rebecca. And thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Okay, my coach is here. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mary Beth.
My pleasure.
I felt like coming up over and again, and you just did so awesome. Thank you, Dr. Rebecca. We don't take that for granted. And hey, if you are, angry that Dr. Rebecca has offered the parents in the inner circle to come and teach us, just join us. That's the only way. And
Exactly.
we like to brag about the inner circle, and we are not we're very unapologetic about the bragging, because yes, these are parents. And I also want to say that next year we're going to be reading Dr. Rebecca Harper's book, In the Inner Circle. And hey, take note of that. So we're all going to get that book, and we're going to read and review. That's part of what we do in the Inner Circle, by the way, of course. So we're going to get access to that book, read it, and chew it, break it down. This is just tips and hacks. Parenting is beyond just coming to a conference and just listening to here and there. We want to read the book. The Inner Circle parents are committed. We want the cross of the matter. We are not, we just don't leave things on the surface. No way. When you bring it to us, we follow you to the end of the game, and we do it to the last. We don't rest until we get what it is that you're giving. And I want to assure you that we're going to break it down, bring you to also do the book review with us, so that we can, have it all leveled out. Thank you so much, Dr. Rebecca Harper.
Thank you.
We are grateful. Thank you, Mary Beth of the Mary Beth. Mary Beth is the founder of Mary Beth is a parent coach, and Mary Beth, does a lot of work on helping your children find their purpose. Trust me, you want to follow Mary Beth.
I love that.
The group is parenting through mentorship. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love purposing.
She has an amazing son who she has been able to, groom through mentorship and all of that.
Wow.
Hey, Beth, I am proud of what you are doing in this space.
Thank you,
we are grateful. Thank you so much for doing this with the Academy, and thank you for being part of the Academy day in, day out. Mary Beth is always here. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who joined us today. We are having the next session at 8, right? At 8. The next session is at 8, and we're having Dr. Ben Priye-Badwin. Ben Priye-Badwin will be streaming live from the UK, and you want to be here. I told you, we're everywhere. We're bringing you coaches from all over the world. So, hey, stay here and be with us. Mary Beth, over to you as we begin to round up.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right. All right, so thank you very much again, ma'am. And as we said, go rave about this on your social media handle, please. And then remember to tag us, the Intentional Parents Conference 2021. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We see your comments. We see you. Have a lovely, lovely evening. Bye.
Bye.
Hello. My name is Auntie Eti Maome. I'm the Responsible Teens Coach, Purity Lifestyle Ambassador, and an author. I was the first person to join the Inner Circle, aka the Yadas. It's been an amazing almost 2 years being in that group, in that circle. For me, what the Intentional Parents Inner Circle has done for me is it has helped me become a balanced parent. 2 things: structure and nurture. It has helped me to better connect, love, and communicate with my children, as well as build a structure and a system where my parenting strategy is sustainable. In the Inner Circle, you get a great support. You have people that have gone ahead of you, people that are with you, and people that are coming behind you on this journey. So you're learning and you're teaching and you're sharing. Of course, you're becoming better at it every day. The Inner Circle has also, provided a platform for my husband to join in parenting in an amazing, non-stressful manner. Oh my goodness, I can't begin to share with you how we suddenly love to read books on parenting, because we do it in a lovely, encouraging way. The Inner Circle has been that go-to place for everything I need everything we all need to move from just speaking, wishing, hoping, and praying that our children turn out right, to actually begin to put these things to practice. And then we are already seeing the testimonies. Our children are actually turning out right, not without mistakes, but we can see them actually shift. I want to thank God for Coach Wendy, my friend and coach, and I want to celebrate every yada in all the levels. I celebrate you, and I'm looking forward to having you join us in 2022. See you in the yard.